Gabriels Gospel Grace, changing lives and kingdom building one stone at a time.
Good evening to you, and welcome to the second programme of the week, the brand new Watchmen series that we've started. So, welcome, and I'm sure the first question is, what is the theme of Watchmen Wednesday? Well, okay, what is a Watchman is probably a good place to start. So when I was a kid, you'd often hear of a role, often typically held by men, of that of the night watchman. And night watchman, I suppose you would give the equivalence of a modern day security guard. Except the watchmen would often only work overnight, typically on building sites and places, and their job would be to obviously patrol and make sure things stayed secure, but also look out for any signs of trouble. And the Bible refers to watchmen, and in fact, throughout history, if you think of castles and fortresses, watchmen would be on the wall looking ahead. And I suppose a good reason for that is, if you think about it, it's no good when the enemy's literally at the gate knocking on the door. You don't have time to prepare, and you certainly have no foresight, whereas if someone's at the highest ground looking ahead, they would see things in the distance. And as part of my life coaching, that's one of the things I often talk about, is it's not looking at what we're doing this week, it's trying to look further down the line, looking towards what we're doing the end of the month or the end of the year. And if we set targets like that, then we're more prepared. So I suppose preparedness is one of the keys to this. But let's look at it from the Bible context and why we have, well, Watchmen Wednesday. What is the purpose of it? Why is there a need for this particular program? Well, we're going to start with a bit of scripture, and hopefully this will make a lot more sense. Bear with me. So I'll have to read this off the screen. So this is basically Matthew 24, aspects of it. Now he sat on the Mount of Olives. The disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us when these things will be, and what will be the sign of your coming, and of the end of the age." And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumours of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then they will deliver you up to tribulations and kill you. And you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive them. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world, and a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand." So this is not even the book of Revelation, which is obviously what most people talk about, the end times. This is actually quoted in Matthew by Jesus. These are his words, the things to come before his return. So clearly we are given signs, we are given clues, and we are given the things to be watchful for. So in that sense, just watching for the return of the king is the importance of a watchman. We should all be watching. Let's see what else he says. "For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. Also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then 2 men will be in a field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and the other left. Watch, therefore, for you do not know the hour your Lord is coming. I find it interesting, the reference to Noah, because when you think about it, Noah was warned, he was given the signs, he was told, and even though he told others, they ignored and they carried on regardless. But I think that's also true of Christians. Even though the Bible clearly says there will be signs which we should be watching for, many simply ignore that. And mainly on the basis of saying, well, we're already saved. Having been a Christian born again, salvation comes with that. But is that really the purpose? Did Jesus really refer to the story of Noah just because it was a reference to the fact people ignored the signs at that time? And just to highlight, people will do the same today? See, I think most people think in that instance, it's the non-Christians it's referring to. But I'd suggest it actually also refers to Christians, because I think the focus is not on actually part of the Great Commission. Their focus is actually on their own personal salvation, which is fine. But let's see what else Jesus refers to in this chapter. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming in an hour you do not expect. Interesting in that scenario about when you know the hour and you'd be watching, especially for the enemy. I think sometimes people take that story as purely regarding the fact of Jesus' return, but I think the thing I see in that same story is the fact that if we're looking for the Lord, if we're looking for the signs of his return, just by simply watching, being vigilant, means we'd actually see the thief coming. Because the key there is being prepared. Jesus is talking about being prepared for his coming, but actually in the process of looking for signs and being prepared, you're actually being prepared for any of the tribulations that are to come, because you'd see the signs. Does that make sense? Because you're already on the wall looking down. You're looking for the master to return, but in the process, anyone would see that you're watching. And the fact you're watching means it would deter the thief. And as we know, the enemy comes to steal, kill and destroy. Just something to think about. That's my own personal take on that piece. Let's see what else he says. Who then is faithful and wise servant, whom his master made ruler over his household to give them food in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Assuredly, I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. If you're the head servant and your job is to look after the household, then it is simply a case of making sure that everyone is being tended to. All things are being provided. In other words, take care of their needs. Now, we know this is actually linking also into the Great Commission. But let me come back to the Noah scenario and let me just modernise that for a moment. So let's assume that as a Christian born again, you have salvation. Let's assume the Lord literally throws you a body preserve life jacket. Now, when the rain comes, such as the tribulations, the rain will fall on everyone, as we know. But if we know the signs, we'd start moving towards higher ground. Now, the people who insist on staying on the low ground, they're going to be the first to drown. The rain will come and they're not in a position they can get away fast enough. They will just drown. Those on the medium ground, should I say, who kind of were half watching, half not, and thought, well, I'll be safe here, it's good enough. Again, they start to stumble and crawl, trying to get to higher ground, but they run out of time. The flood comes too quick. But those who already set off, heading to higher ground, taking preserves and having all the things they need, the tools and resources available to them, they also head to the high ground, but they actually get there in time, along with others on that journey, and also people that just happen to find themselves in the position. Now, the important thing, though, is let's assume that for 1 hour, the earth is covered, as in even at the highest ground. You have to stay afloat, and thankfully, yes, you're saved, but you're staying afloat, but you can also keep hold of others, just long enough to hold them up there, just for that 1 hour. You all go through tribulation, but at least you're not dead. You have survived. Now, of course, the other thing is, as soon as that flood starts to subside, you're the first to land on ground. The highest point will be the first to see the air, to see the sky again. So actually, when you think about it, looking for the signs, being prepared and being saved actually allows you up until the very last minute to save more people, to share that knowledge. The Lord gives us knowledge and wisdom to share with the world. That knowledge is in preparation and part of the Great Commission. We have to keep that in mind, even if we are saved. So that's the emphasis of this program. We're not just really looking at what the enemy's doing in the world and looking for signs of the enemy at work. We are looking for the actual signs of the return, and also how, as Christians, we can go out and do more good. More importantly, though, it's about also being prepared. So part of the preparedness will be looking at basic sustainability skills, survival skills, prepping as some people call it. But especially after COVID, when people were fighting in supermarkets simply just to buy toilet paper, it's not so far-fetched now to assume that perhaps we need to be more prepared. I'm aware there's a generation now who actually don't know how to grow their own food. Not properly. They don't have any practice or experience because they've grown up knowing everything's available from the shop. And for quite a while, it probably wasn't even cost-effective. But cost-effective or not, it's important people learn to develop these skills, because at any time, for any reason, we might have to sustain ourselves. Now, for many of us Christians born again, God always provides, but we still have to do our part of the work. We still have to sow the seed, we have to plough the field, we have to reap the harvest. So from that point of view, I'm asking all of you, already Christian, to tune in, see what's going on in the world, contribute even. Give us ideas of things to go looking into, investigating. And again, we will have guests on this channel that will be contributing. And that's where I'd like to end today. I'm going to introduce our first guest who will be joining us from next week. He's also a YouTuber. He has his own channel, FireTube Ministry, which I'll put in next week's link. Please feel free to check it out. So let's have a quick look at what Michael's going to contribute to the channel.
Further to a video I posted recently about what God spoke to me and about getting a physical Bible, because you'll not be able to access material online shortly soon. Further to that, I just want to recap briefly that Western civilization, all of it, Australia, United Kingdom, the United States of America, Canada, was all of it founded on Christian beliefs and values, as was the political system in all of these countries, the healthcare system, teaching, education establishments. All of that Western society, civilization, is under attack right now. You can see it. It's being destroyed. Also Christianity itself directly, as a consequence of that and as an actual main target, is being diminished. People are being arrested for praying in the streets, but you can have a satanic conference in a hotel. You can book the floor, it's great, you can get dressed up in satanic stuff. The music industry worships Satan. Pornography is freely available, you know. Why would that be the case? It's not even a good business plan, is it? But no, it's free. Why is it free? It's to poison your mind, to poison the minds of our children. We're seeing education centres which encourage kids to mutilate their bodies without any checks and balances, basically. And drag queens can come and read to your children and educate them while you're at work slaving away for just to try and keep the roof over your heads. Don't worry about it, we'll take care of your kids, these people are saying. That's absolutely satanic. And it's all there at this point. It's not even hidden. Satanism was something that, you know, not too long ago people would be ashamed of. They'd have to go and do it in secret places, but now you can just book the Marriott Hotel. It's perfectly fine, it's just a conference, you know. We can just rip the pages up the Bible, it's perfectly fine. You know, why would that be the case? You couldn't do that with any other religious text. You couldn't do that without causing a massive offence. But now it's being promoted by the BBC, the New York Times, and on and on. All these, I have to say it, they're all compromised, the whole system. The political system, the arena, the media, it's all complicit in the same agenda, which is to promote Satanism at the expense of Christianity. And I think it's pretty obvious at this point. People get arrested for preaching the gospel in the streets. People get arrested for praying in their own minds, standing outside, being silent. being prayerful. People are being arrested for that. Unreal. But you're taught that if you're a Christian, you're a fundamentalist, you're an extremist, you're a climate change denier or an evolution denier. Let me get this straight, the theory of evolution is a scientific theory. That's what it is, a theory. It's not a proven thing. There's no missing link that's ever been found. There's a lot of things that science can't explain. There's a lot of scientists which have a different viewpoint with exactly the same qualifications as the guys that you get promoted to listen to be, put in front of the TV cameras. But the other guys who have a different point of view, they say, no, the Earth isn't that old. It's actually quite a young Earth. There's a lot of scientists with credentials that aren't allowed to speak about that. Likewise in the medical profession, you're only fed one certain narrative. And I know the vast majority of you people, no, you might not, I don't know. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not anyone's judge. Some people believe it, some people don't. And I'm talking about Christians who believe the narrative, and there's non-Christians who have a bit more discernment. And I don't know the answer to why that is, but I believe that the times are going to get darker and they're going to get more pronounced. A lot of people say that there's going to be a great revival, a great awakening. For me, I see the Bible says that there'll be a great falling away. But whatever it is, it might be both of those things actually. But I think the world is going to become more polarized. Darkness is going to get darker, but the light will get brighter. And pretty soon there's a lot of apathy around, but pretty soon I don't think that there'll be any sitting on the fence. You'll have a clear decision to make. Serve God. Choose this day who you will serve. Choose God or choose the enemy. But whatever it is, you're going to have to make that decision. So I want you to prepare yourself now. If you're a Christian and you're happy just to keep your head down, maybe you're waiting for the rapture, whatever. I'm not getting into that debate. I don't know. It's the honest answer. You're going to have to prepare yourself for the time that's coming. And I want you to prepare yourself. And Jesus wants you to prepare yourself. That's why he told you in Matthew 24 what to look for when these things happen. And he tells you to watch as well. Because you can just think, well, I'm not supposed to get involved in all that. I'm just going to do my little bit in my little square. That's all good. Don't get me wrong, that is good. You should do that. But also prepare yourself that you're going to have to make a stand. You're going to have to make a stand. Be convinced, utterly convinced that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth and the life. And there's nothing else without him. Nothing else matters. He's the only thing that matters. He's the only thing that counts. And when you convince yourself of that in your heart, of the truth, you convince yourself of the truth, you'll be able to stand, as Paul says in Ephesians. And when you've done all, stand. Stand strong in the faith. I'm not going to be able to continue doing this for much longer. I don't think that'll be allowed. But I'm sure you know that. It's what the end times tell us, It's what the Bible tells us. Evil will be good, good will be evil, We can see that with the satanic agenda. That's just a harmless Satanist, You're a Christian terrorist because you want to raise your kids the right way at home, and you want to have traditional conservative values. You're a terrorist, but us that practice all this sexual deviancy and we kill our kids in the womb, we're the good guys, That's what you're being taught. Absolutely flipped everything over. How long it'll continue or how long it'll last, I don't know. I'm not going to say that I do. That would be unbiblical, also it would be a lie. And it would be a bit clickbaity, so I'm not going to get into that. I'm also going to stop waffling now. I love you. God bless you. It's a beautiful day. I'm in creation. All creation knows that there's a creator. But that's a conspiracy theory now. Unreal. God bless you. Thanks for watching.
Powerful words there from Michael, and we're looking forward to him becoming part of a regular spot here on Watchmen Wednesday. Hopefully today's gave you an insight into what's to come, but more importantly, just remember, being a watchman is simply being prepared, looking at the signs, not always believing everything we're told, questioning things. I personally would recommend, if you want to investigate anything, go back to looking at books. Books are always proven, whereas the internet sadly can be tweaked within seconds to reflect a personal point of view of a person writing it. Be mindful It's an interesting time out there in the world. But at the same time, this is why we're here. We're here because we're bringing the light back into the world. We're bringing something new into the lives of those who have lost it to the darkness. The enemy might be at the gate for many, but we are the watchmen. We see ahead. That means we're prepared, and we can lead others into the light. We can also help people in the dark and bring them out of their darkness, move them forward towards something better. And may that be in the Lord. Join us next week as we go into Watchmen Wednesday. God bless. If you were blessed by this video, why not give it a like? Also subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to be notified of future videos.